Hello students, welcome to Ayurveda. So in the continuation of the series of extra hepatic biliary apparatus, today we are going to learn about gallbladder. So let's get started. First we'll see the introduction, basic introduction of gallbladder. So gallbladder is a pear-shaped reservoir of bile. We have already discussed in the previous lecture that main function of the bile is the storage, main function of the gallbladder is the storage of bile and making the bile concentrated. So this gallbladder is pear-shaped in structure. Pear meaning that which is tapering towards the end, or tapering means which is becoming narrowing towards one end. So this is the shape of the pear, means it is narrowing towards the one end or tapering towards the one end, which is exactly the shape of gallbladder. Location, fossa for gallbladder on the inferior surface of the right lobe of the liver. So on the inferior surface of the right lobe of the liver, there presents a fossa for the gallbladder. So that is the location of gallbladder. Dimensions are, it is 7 to 10 centimeter long, 3 centimeter broad at its widest part. Its capacity is 30 to 50 ml, and the part of the gallbladder are first the fundus, then the body and the neck. So gallbladder consists of three parts. First one is the fundus, the next is the body, and last one is the neck. Now we'll learn each part one by one. First one is the fundus. So it is the expanded end. It is the most expanded end of the gallbladder. As you can see here, the most expanded part is known as the fundus. It is directed downward, forward and to the right. The fundus is directed downward, forward and to the right, and it projects beyond inferior border of the liver in the angle between lateral border of right rectus abdominis and ninth costal cartilage. So the fundus of the gallbladder is projecting beyond the inferior border of the liver. As you can see here in this picture, this is the inferior border of the liver, and the fundus of the gallbladder is projecting beyond this inferior border. It projects beyond this inferior border, and this part of the fundus came in between the lateral border of the right rectus abdominis. As you can see here in the picture, in this picture, this is the rectus abdominis muscle. So at the lateral border of the right rectus abdominis muscle and between the ninth costal cartilage, there presents the fundus of the gallbladder. As you can see here presents the fundus of the gallbladder, which is projecting beyond the inferior border of the liver. And this part of the gallbladder is entirely surrounded by peritoneum. The fundus of the gallbladder is entirely surrounded by peritoneum. Now let's see the relations of fundus. So anteriorly it is related with the anterior abdominal wall. So the fundus, this is the fundus, this is the fundus which is anteriorly related with the anterior abdominal wall. So let's assume this is the anterior abdominal wall. So anteriorly this fundus is related with the anterior abdominal wall, and posteriorly it is related with the beginning of the transverse colon. As you can appreciate here in this picture, this is the transverse colon or the beginning of the transverse colon. Okay, so the fundus is related posteriorly with the beginning of the transverse colon and anteriorly with the anterior abdominal wall. Moving on, now the body of the gallbladder. The body is directed upward, backward and to the left. So this is the body of the gallbladder. This portion is the body of the gallbladder. which is directed upward, backward and to the left. So the body is directed upward, backward and towards the left. Near right end of the porta hepatis, it continues with the neck. So this is the porta hepatis, as you can see here. This is the porta hepatis and this portion is the neck of gallbladder. So near the right end, so this is near the right end of the porta hepatis, the body is continuous with the neck of the gallbladder. Okay, and it lies in the fossa for gallbladder. We have already discussed it, that the gallbladder lies in the fossa for gallbladder on the inferior surface of the liver, and the main part of the gallbladder which lies in that fossa is the body. Okay, the upper narrow end is continuous with the neck at the right end of the porta hepatis, as we have already discussed. The upper narrow end of the body is continuous with the neck of the gallbladder at the right end of the porta hepatis. Okay, now let's know what are the surfaces of this body. So it has two surfaces. First one is the superior surface and the inferior surface. So the superior surface is adherent to the liver and it is devoid of peritoneum. So what is the superior surface here? The surface which is adherent to the liver, the surface which we are not seeing in this picture, which is closely attached with the liver, is the superior surface, and the surface that we are seeing in this picture, this is the inferior surface of the body of the gallbladder. So superior surface is adherent to the liver and it is devoid of peritoneum. As it is very closely attached with the liver, there is no intervening peritoneum between that surface and the liver. The superior surface is directly attached with the liver. Okay, and the inferior surface, it is entirely covered with peritoneum and related to the beginning of the transverse colon and first and second part of the duodenum. Okay, so the surface that we are seeing here in this picture is the inferior surface. This is the inferior surface. Okay, and this surface is entirely covered with peritoneum and also it is related to the uh, beginning of the transverse colon, just like the fundus. So this, suppose this is the beginning of the transverse colon, so the fundus is related with this portion and also it is related with the first and second part of the duodenum. So we can appreciate here in this picture, this is the first part of duodenum and this is the second part of duodenum. So the body is attached with both of this part or related with both of this part, the first part of duodenum and the second part of duodenum. Okay, so in the body we have seen two surfaces, superior surface which is directly adherent to the liver and it has no intervening peritoneum between them, and second is the inferior surface which is entirely covered with peritoneum and related with the beginning of the transverse colon, and also the first and second part of the duodenum. Moving on, the third part is the neck. So neck is the narrow upper end of the gallbladder. So the narrow upper end of the gallbladder is the neck. As you can appreciate here in this picture, this is the neck of the gallbladder. It is situated near the right end of the porta hepatis. So this is the porta hepatis, as you can appreciate here in this picture. This is the porta hepatis and towards its right end presents the neck of the gallbladder. Okay, So the neck of the gallbladder curves in has two curves. Okay, first it curves antero-posteriorly and then it curves postero-inferiorly. Let's understand how. As you can appreciate here in this picture. Okay, so the neck is curving first antero-posteriorly. So it is curving from anterior to posterior. Okay, and then again it is curving from posterior to inferior. So it is curving from posterior to inferior to become continuous with the cystic duct, and then it become continuous here with the cystic duct, then it continues here with the cystic duct. So there are two curves of the neck. First is antero-posterior and second one is postero-inferior, and then it becomes continuous with the cystic duct. Okay, and the junction with the cystic duct is marked by the constriction. So here the junction, so this is the junction between the neck and the cystic duct. So this junction is marked by the constrictions. So here are constriction presents between the neck and the cystic duct. What it does, it prevent the backflow of the bile. The constrictions present in this junction prevents the backflow of the bile. So what we have discussed, that the neck is the narrow upper end of the gallbladder. It is situated near the right end of the porta hepatis and it has two curves. First it curves antero-superiorly. First it curves, okay. First it curves antero-superiorly and then curves postero-inferiorly and then become continuous with the cystic duct. And the junction with cystic duct is marked by the constriction to prevent the backflow of the bile. Now let's see the relations of the neck. So first, superiorly the neck of the gallbladder is related to the liver by areolar tissues. As you can appreciate here in this picture, this is the neck of the gallbladder. This is the neck of the gallbladder which is related with to the liver by areolar tissues, and inferiorly it is related with the first part of the duodenum. As you can appreciate in the same picture, the inferior portion of the neck is related with the first part of the duodenum. This is the first part of the duodenum. So inferior portion of the neck is related with this first part. Okay, now let's talk about the mucous membrane of neck. So the mucous membrane is folded spirally to prevent any obstruction to the inflow and outflow of the bile. So here you can see that this is the neck, portion of the neck, and the mucous membrane of this neck is folded spirally. So it has folds like this. It has folds like this. So what this fold does, it prevents the obstruction to the inflow and outflow of the bile. It prevents the outflow and outflow of the bile. There is no obstruction in the inflow and outflow of the bile because of the folded spiral folds of the mucous membrane. Okay, moving on. Now let's understand what is the histology of gallbladder. So first, the mucous membrane. The mucous membrane of the entire gallbladder is thrown into a temporary fold. As you can appreciate here in this picture, there are folds present in the mucous membrane, and these folds, the epithelium of the mucous membrane consists of single layer of tall columnar cells. As you can see here, there is a single layer of tall columnar cells, and each cell has basal oval shaped nucleus and apical part having microvilli. So each cell of this epithelium has oval shaped nucleus, and at the apex of this cell presents a microvilli. Microvilli are the brush borders of the cell. As you can appreciate here in this picture, you can see the brush like structure. These brush like structures are the microvilli which are present at the apex of the cell. So suppose this is the tall columnar cell, and at the apex of this cell these microvilli are present. Many microvilli are present like this, brush like structures. These are microvilli which are present at the apex of the tall columnar cell. The lamina propria has loose connective tissues with diffuse lymphocytes. In the lamina propria, there are present the loose connective tissues and diffuse lymphocytes. The muscularis mucosa and glands are absent in the gallbladder. Why? So you have to understand that muscularis mucosa, what is muscularis mucosa? It is the thin layer of smooth muscles at the base of the mucus. So it is the layer of smooth muscle, and these smooth muscles are absent in the gallbladder. Why? Because there is no need, uh, as there is no mucosal movement, as there is no gland present here. So glands are also absent because there is no need of any gland secretion. So both the things are connected, as glands are absent because no gland secretion are necessary here, because what it does, gallbladder only stores and does the function of absorption. It does not secrete any kind of mucus here. So that's why there is no need of glands for secreting mucus, and as there is no mucosal movement, there is no need of smooth muscles. That's why muscularis mucosa is not present here. Okay, both the things are connected. There is no mucosal secretion, that's why glands are absent, and as there is no mucosal movement, the muscularis mucosa or the smooth muscle layer is not present. The next is fibromuscular coat. So outside lamina propria having smooth muscular fibers and collagen fibers. The fibromuscular coat is present outside lamina propria. Outside lamina propria there will be a fibrous muscular coat, and which has the smooth muscle fibers and collagen fibers, and this layer rests on the thin fibroareolar coat containing numerous small blood vessels. So understanding the structure, so this is the lamina propria. Outside the lamina propria presents a fibromuscular coat which has the smooth muscle fibers and collagen fibers, and outside this fibromuscular coat there presents a fibroareolar coat which have this small blood vessels. Okay, the next is the serous coat which covers the inferior surface of the body and fundus. The last one will be the outside layer will be the serous coat, or which we say the layer of peritoneum. So we have already discussed that peritoneum is present only at the inferior surface of the gallbladder, and it covers the fundus of the gallbladder. It does not covers the superior surface of the gallbladder, because superior surface is directly adherent to the liver. So that's why the serous coat is present only at the inferior surface of the body and fundus. And thin adventitia, it envelops the rest of the surface. So the rest of the surface meaning the neck of the gallbladder, and the superior surface of the gallbladder. Okay, the neck of the gallbladder and the superior surface of the gallbladder, as they are devoid of peritoneum, they are covered by adventitia. What is adventitia? Adventitia is the outer connective tissue layer. It is connective tissue only, but it is a very thin layer which helps to anchor with the liver, and it also allows the flexibility and mobility which is needed. So the adventitia is present between the superior surface of the liver and superior surface of the gallbladder and the liver, and it allows the flexibility and mobility of the gallbladder. Okay, so that's all for today's lecture. In the next lecture, we'll study the remaining part of the extrahepatic biliary apparatus. Until then, keep reading and don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Thank you for watching this video.